This Impala came in with the code P0452, which points to a fuel tank pressure sensor that's not working properly. But before you replace anything, you need to understand what that signal actually is, how to test it to make absolutely sure that that is your problem. I'm Bill, and this is Bill Teaches Automotive Technology. Last week, I had a student ask if he could bring his 2007 Chevrolet Impala with a 3.5 V6 in to diagnose a service engine soon light. And the class that I'm teaching right now is a very hands-on class for students, hands-off class for me, because I want them to get real-world repair diagnosis and repair experience. So as I'm observing this one student working on his vehicle, I'm also checking on other students in the shop. And I noticed the student has a diagram pulled up, the flow chart for a code P0452, which is a fuel tank pressure sensor circuit code. So I showed him how EVAP system works, and won't get into that right now, but it turned out that he had a bad purge valve. Purge solenoid valve is what the issue was. Now, you may be thinking, okay, Bill, wow, end of video, really? No, what I want to do is show you how we proved that it was the purge solenoid that was bad. So let's switch to the wiring diagram. So you may be wondering, Bill, it had a fuel tank pressure sensor code. How did y'all circle around to it possibly? Where did you get testing the purge valve when it was a fuel tank pressure sensor code? So again, this isn't going to be a lesson on EVAP systems, but we did a test. The fuel tank pressure did not change, but it's because the EVAP purge solenoid was not opening. When a EVAP purge solenoid opens, it should pull fuel vapors from the fuel tank into the engine. And if the right conditions are there, then the fuel tank will actually have a vacuum pulled on it. So we did that test. No vacuum was pulled on it. No change in the engine runtime when the way the engine ran at full 100% duty cycle on the purge valve. So a lot of places will, hey, I've got a code for a fuel tank pressure sensor. It's got to be a bad sensor, and pop a sensor in it. That didn't do it. So what we did, rather than throwing parts at something, I like to prove what's wrong. I want to know what the failure is so that I can document it, write it in a journal, or just have it burned into my, into my brain, right? So let me clear my annotations, and I'm going to just focus, because I've kind of explained why we focused on the purge valve. Purge valve was not working. So let me switch to just the purge valve circuit, and I will explain how this circuit works, how to test it. Okay, so up at the very top, and if you have watched my wiring schematics video, in fact, I would highly recommend watching this schematics video first and then circle back to this one, or finish this video and then go to that one. So up at the very top, you'll see it says power, let's see here. Yeah, powertrain relay. Sorry about that. So anytime the powertrain relay is turned on, so basically anytime that we have the key on or the engine's running, that relay is going to be activated, which is going to send 12 volts through this fuse, which is the emissions 1 fuse that's in the underhood fuse block. All right, so 12 volts is going to go to the purge valve, and then we'll also, if that purge valve is not commanded on, you will actually have 12 volts all the way to right here at the ECM. Yeah, at the ECM. And the reason why is what eats the voltage up is the purge valve when it's turned on. If the purge valve isn't turned on, we're going to have voltage potential all the way to that ECM. So, Bill, what did you do? How did you test it? First thing I did was I had my student go test light to battery negative. All right, so clamped onto the battery negative post, put the test lamp probe on terminal A with the purge valve unplugged, and the light lit up. Okay, that's telling us we've got power. Okay, and something else that's really cool that you may or may not know, my first several years as a technician, it never really clicked with me that you could do just the opposite. So then what we did is we went to B+. We went to the positive terminal on the battery with our test light, and we went to terminal B at the connector at the purge valve, and we commanded with a scan tool the purge valve to duty cycle at 10%, and the test light flashed. Hold up, why would the test light flash? So that flashing is normal. So what we did at 10%, we were at 10% duty cycle. So 10% of the time, the ECM was grounding the purge solenoid. So then we went ahead and bumped it all the way up to 100%. At 100%, the light's flashing really fast, almost imperceptibly, but you can see it. And then I actually got an oscilloscope too and hooked it up to it so we could see the scope pattern. But just based off of that, we knew that we had power. We knew that we had ground. But do we have a bad purge valve now? We got power, we got ground. When we commanded it with it plugged up, it's not clicking, it's not pulling a vacuum. Do I have a bad part? A lot of techs at this point, especially new techs, are going to say, yes, Bill, we've got a bad part. Throw the part on there. So what if we have a bad connection somewhere? We're just going to do a quick voltage drop test. Now, to do a voltage drop test, the system has to be active. It's got to be turned on. So I would recommend turning it 100% duty cycle, voltmeter. I'm going to put my red lead, get some back probe pins, and I've got a link for those back probe pins down in my description. So back probe terminal B at the EVAP purge solenoid. And then I'm also gonna back probe, it looks like connector C2 terminal 8 at the ECM. Now, I should see very, in fact, I am going to say that you should see 0 voltage drop. So when you do this voltage measurement and you turn on the purge valve, you command it on, you should see pretty much 0 volts. What I have done in the past on vehicles in the past that I have had issues with where I had a voltage drop, but I could not pinpoint it because the wire runs across the entire engine bay under the intake and all that stuff. With the customer's permission, I have restrung that circuit. So just run a brand new wire from terminal B at the purge valve to terminal C28 at the ECM, and then always verify that that took care of it. So in my student's case, we did have a 0 volt drop. The ECM was grounding it properly. We did have 12 volts to the purge valve, and the purge valve was not working. So we had a bad purge valve. The student replaced the purge valve. We then redid the test I was talking about, which is an EVAP purge and seal. And now the purge valve's opening, engine's running rough because it's a vacuum leak, and the fuel tank pressure sensor is doing what it's supposed to do. So let me know, y'all, are you interested in a video, like a deep dive video into EVAP systems? Any questions you have, anything that, maybe you're like, Bill, what you said is not true, or whatever, let me know. Let me know if you liked it. And please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell button. And be sure you check out my other videos, especially the wiring schematic video. I've got one on relays as well. Thank y'all very much. Take care of yourself. God bless, and I'll see you next time on Bill Teaches Automotive Technology.